Does the officer have a uniform on and a vest that says police on it? Yeah, it does. But the thing is, I don't think he's an American citizen, though.
The wide-angle lens of the body camera clicks on, showing the bright lights and long aisles of a Naperville Walmart. Tiffany Sterling Cruz stands in the middle of the bread aisle, looking at her phone instead of the officer standing right in front of her. She doesn't look like someone who is in trouble. She looks like she is the boss of the situation. Her black headband is perfectly in place, and she holds her smartphone up as if it is a shield that can stop anything the police say. Officer Jackson stands a few feet away, his hands near his duty belt, but Tiffany doesn't seem to care about his uniform or the badge on his chest. Instead of answering his questions about why she is back in a store she was banned from, she talks to the 911 dispatcher on her phone. Her voice is calm, but there is a sharp edge to it. Does the officer have a uniform on and a vest that says police on it? She asks the person on the other end of the line. When the dispatcher says yes, Tiffany doesn't stop. She looks Jackson up and down with a look of deep doubt. Yeah, it does, she says into the phone, her eyes narrowing as she stares at the officer's face. But the thing is, I'm not sure if he's an American citizen, though. She says it loudly, making sure the officer hears her. To Tiffany, a badge and a uniform aren't enough to prove someone has authority over her. She wants to see proof of where he was born before she even thinks about listening to a word he says. Officer Jackson just sighs. He has seen people try to stall before, but this is a new tactic. Tiffany keeps her phone aimed at him, waiting for him to react to her question about his citizenship. She is trying to turn the tables, making him the one who has to explain himself while she stands there among the loaves of bread, acting like she owns the place. Tiffany doesn't stop with her questions about citizenship. Instead, she doubles down on her performance for the phone. She holds the device steady, making sure her audience can see everything. "You want to call one?" she asks the officer, her voice light and mocking. Before Jackson can even get a word in, she starts pressing buttons. "Oh, hold on 1 second. I'm good," she says, as if she is talking to a friend at a party rather than a policeman in a store aisle. She isn't calling a friend, though. She is calling 911, right in front of the officers who are already there. "I'm calling 911, she announces, her face full of fake concern. When Jackson asks her why on earth she is calling the emergency line when he is standing right there, she has a ready answer. "Because I don't want somebody might hurt me," she says into the phone, acting like she is a victim. She tells the dispatcher that she is just here shopping and that she can buy all her stuff in cash. Tiffany's plan is simple. She wants to make it look like the police are the ones doing something wrong. She tells the operator that there is a guy here that's supposedly a police officer, but she isn't sure. She claims she is just a woman who is worried. This is her big bluff. She is using the emergency system to try and scare the officers away, or at least to make them look bad on her record. She keeps talking over the officers, trying to control the conversation with the dispatcher as if the rules of the store don't apply to her as long as she has 911 on the line. Tiffany decides to switch tactics when the 911 bluff doesn't make the officers leave. She stops her fake worried voice and puts on a big, bright smile. "How you doing, honey? How are you?" she asks Officer Jackson, acting like they are old friends meeting for coffee. She even gives a little wave. "I'm good, and you? Happy Sunday." Her mood has changed so fast that it is hard to keep up. 1 minute she was calling for emergency help, and the next she is wishing everyone a wonderful weekend. She stays jovial and polite, trying to act like a perfectly normal shopper who hasn't done anything wrong. "I'm just trying to figure out what's going on," she says with a sweet tilt of her head. By being extra nice, she is trying to make the officers look like the bad guys for bothering such a friendly lady on a holy day. She talks about her groceries and how she is just a woman minding her own business. But the officers don't fall for the happy Sunday act. They know she is only being nice to stall for time and confuse them. Officer Jackson stays professional, not letting her charm offensive change the fact that she isn't supposed to be in the store. Tiffany keeps the smile on her face, but her eyes are constantly darting around, looking for the next way to get out of the situation while she continues to ignore the orders to leave. The friendly act doesn't last long once Sergeant Hobbs joins the conversation. He isn't interested in happy Sunday wishes. He is there to enforce the law. He stands firmly, looking Tiffany in the eye as he delivers the news she has been trying to ignore. "Walmart management trespassed you," he says clearly, making sure it is on the record. He explains that her name is already in their system and the store system as someone who is not allowed on the property. This is the trespass receipt, the official proof that she is breaking the law just by standing there. Tiffany's face shifts from a smile back to a look of cold defiance. Even though the officers tell her they have confirmed the trespass whether you remember or not, she refuses to believe it. She acts like the officers are making up stories just to ruin her day. Sergeant Hobbs doesn't argue. He simply lays out the reality of her situation. He tells her there are two ways that this goes down. She can either listen to the management's order and leave peacefully, or she can keep arguing and end up in handcuffs. The air in the bread aisle gets thick with tension. The officers are no longer asking her to leave. They are telling her that her time in the store is up. Tiffany clutches her phone tighter, her mind already spinning to find a way to make the system look like it is lying. She isn't ready to give up her shopping trip yet, and she certainly isn't ready to admit that the police have the receipt that proves she is in the wrong. Tiffany isn't ready to let the truth get in the way of her shopping. When Sergeant Hobbs tells her that the store's computer has a record of her being trespassed, she comes up with a quick excuse. The systems are down, she claims, waving her hand as if that magically makes the legal order disappear. She acts like the police are trying to use a broken computer to trick her. She stands her ground in the aisle, surrounded by loaves of bread, and insists that if the store's system isn't working perfectly, then the rules don't count. It is a strange argument, but Tiffany says it with so much confidence that she almost sounds like she believes it. She tries to make the officers feel like they are the ones making a mistake by trusting a computer that she says is broken. Officer Jackson doesn't even blink at her systems are down theory. He tells her plainly that it doesn't matter if she thinks the computers are broken because the police have already confirmed the trespass on their own end. Tiffany just rolls her eyes, clearly annoyed that her technical excuse didn't work. She is running out of ways to talk her way out of this, but she still refuses to move her feet toward the exit. Tiffany decides that the police officers are not enough of an audience for her. She looks at her smartphone and begins tapping the screen with purpose. "I'm about to call my Facebook," she announces, as if she is summoning a powerful protector. She isn't just making a call, she is starting a Facebook livestream to protect herself from what she calls an unfair investigation. To Tiffany, the camera is a shield that makes her untouchable. "Morning, everybody." "Good morning," she chirps into the phone, her voice suddenly bright and theatrical for her digital followers. "I want y'all to be on Facebook with us." She holds the phone out so the camera can capture Officer Jackson and Sergeant Hobbs, trying to frame them as the villains in her story. She uses the Facebook shield to create a version of reality where she is the innocent victim and the police are the ones causing trouble on a quiet Sunday. Sergeant Hobbs tells her clearly that "we are not calling your Facebook" and that she is in the middle of a real investigation, but Tiffany just ignores him. She believes that as long as people are watching her online, the officers won't dare to arrest her. She continues to talk to her followers, complaining about her tired eyes and how she just wants to go home, all while using the live stream to stall for more time. She thinks her phone has given her a superpower, but in reality, she is only recording the evidence that will be used against her later. The officers are tired of the games. Sergeant Hobbs decides to give Tiffany one last chance to do the right thing. He explains that she has a simple choice to make right now. "Would you like another citation and to leave peacefully?" he asks, "or would you like to get a citation, not leave, and then go to DuPage County Jail?" This is the final citation offer. He tries to make her understand that receiving a ticket is much better than going to jail. In Naperville, they often use a cite and release rule, which means they give a person a court date and let them go home. But for this to work, Tiffany has to actually walk out of the store. The sergeant makes it very clear, if she stays 1 minute longer, the offer is off the table. Instead of taking the easy way out, Tiffany stays exactly where she is. She acts like she doesn't hear the warning about jail. She is so focused on her groceries and her Facebook followers that she misses the final exit ramp the officers have built for her. She refuses to leave, believing her own logic is stronger than the law, and the chance to walk away without handcuffs begins to disappear. Tiffany stands her ground in the bread aisle, but her argument takes a strange turn. Instead of talking about the store, she begins to attack the authority of the police themselves. "The Naperville Police Department, they're defunded," she says with a smug look on her face. "There's no money going there." She truly believes that if the department is defunded, then the officers standing in front of her have no power to arrest her or tell her what to do. She looks at Officer Jackson and Sergeant Hobbs as if they are volunteers who have no right to be in the store. The thing is if you're not being paid to do the job, then you're not. She trails off, implying they are just regular people in costumes. To Tiffany, this defunded myth is a perfect escape. She thinks that if she can prove they aren't getting a paycheck, she can stay in Walmart as long as she wants. Officer Jackson doesn't let her fantasy slow him down. "I am being paid to do the job, and that's what I'm here for," he says firmly. He explains that his job right now is to serve Walmart and make sure she leaves the property. Tiffany just shakes her head, refusing to believe him. She keeps talking over him, telling her Facebook audience that these aren't real police because there is no money in the city budget. She is so caught up in her own story that she can't see the very real handcuffs on the belts. Tiffany's arguments get even more strange as she stands among the bread shelves. Since her defunded theory didn't make the officers leave, she decides to challenge their right to be in the country at all. She looks at Officer Jackson with a look of pure judgment. "You have to verify that you have a visa to live in the United States," she says, acting like she is a border agent instead of a shopper being told to leave. She doesn't stop at visas. Tiffany raises her voice so her Facebook audience can hear her clearly. She demands that the officers show her their birth certificates and their social security cards right there in the middle of the store. "I didn't know that you have to have a birth certificate and you have to have a social security card," she says, mocking the idea that they have any authority over her without showing her their private papers. To Tiffany, being a United States citizen with her own papers makes her special, and she thinks the officers are supposed to prove they are just like her before she has to listen to them. She tells her followers that anyone can just put on a uniform and say, "Hey, I'm a police," and she refuses to believe they are real until she sees their federal documents. Officer Jackson just keeps his cool, telling her that birth certificates have nothing to do with the fact that she is trespassing. But Tiffany keeps demanding her proof, using the birth certificate demands as her newest wall to hide behind. As the officers continue to stand their ground, Tiffany tries one more trick to get her way. She suddenly changes from being angry and demanding to being overly sweet again, but this time it feels like a trap. She turns her attention away from Officer Jackson and looks at the second officer, Mr. Franken. "Doing Mr. Franken, I like your eyes," she says with a strange smile. "You're a nice-looking guy." This is the flattery trap. Tiffany thinks that by giving the officer a compliment, she can make him feel awkward or soften his heart so he will let her stay in the store. She acts as if they are in a movie where a charming smile can solve any legal problem. She ignores the fact that she is still trespassing and tries to turn the serious investigation into a weird, flirtatious moment. The officers are not impressed by her words. Mr. Franken doesn't blush or back down. Instead, the officers realize that being nice hasn't worked at all. "Flattery will get you nowhere," the narrator notes as the officers prepare to end the games. They tell her one last time that she is going to stop her behavior or she will be arrested immediately. Tiffany's attempt to use her charm has failed, and the air in the store turns even colder as the officers move closer to end the standoff. The officers have run out of patience for Tiffany's games. Sergeant Hobbs steps closer, his voice turning cold and serious. He gives her a direct command that cuts through her chatter. "You're going to stop or you will be arrested," he warns, but Tiffany still tries to argue. She is clutching a drink and a bag of items she hasn't paid for yet, holding them as if they are her most prized possessions. "No, no, no," she protests, stepping back as if she can just walk away from the law. "This is my stuff that I—" The officers don't let her finish. They give her the stop and drop command, telling her to put the items down immediately. They make it clear that the time for talking is over. Tiffany, however, refuses to let go. She clings to her groceries, claiming she bought them with cash, even though she is still standing in the middle of the store and hasn't gone through the checkout line yet. To Tiffany, the items in her hands are her legal right, but to the police, they are evidence of her refusal to leave. She holds onto the drink as if it's a shield, shaking her head and repeating that she isn't under arrest. The tension in the aisle snaps. The stop and drop order was a final warning, and by keeping her grip on those groceries, Tiffany has chosen her path. The officers move in to take control, and the quiet shopping trip turns into a chaotic scene. The moment of truth arrives in the middle of the bread aisle. When Tiffany refuses to let go of her drink and her bags, Officer Jackson and Sergeant Hobbs move in to take control. "You are under arrest," they tell her firmly, but Tiffany begins to pull away. She shakes her head and shouts, "No, I'm not," as if saying it out loud will stop the officers from touching her. The scene becomes chaotic and loud. Tiffany clings to her items with all her strength, making it very hard for the officers to secure her hands. "Stop resisting," they command as they struggle to bring her arms behind her back. Tiffany doesn't listen. She keeps arguing that the groceries are hers because she bought them with cash, even though she is still standing deep inside the store. As the officers work to get the handcuffs on her, Tiffany continues to shout about her rights and her stuff. She ignores the fact that her resistance is only making the situation worse. Other shoppers stop and watch as the climax of the afternoon unfolds. The sound of scuffling feet and rustling plastic bags fills the air as the officers finally manage to get a grip on her wrists, ending the long standoff with a click of metal. As the officers pull her arms behind her back, Tiffany stops trying to talk to her phone and starts shouting at the people around her. She realizes that her Facebook livestream isn't stopping the arrest, so she tries to get the other shoppers to step in. "Somebody help me," she screams at the top of her lungs, her voice echoing through the store. "Somebody from the United States, please. Can y'all help me? 'Cause this is not right." She hopes that by calling for a United States citizen, someone will come and challenge the officers just like she did. She ignores the fact that she is the one breaking the law by being in the store. To Tiffany, the arrest is an attack that everyone should try to stop. She continues to yell that the police department is defunded and that the officers aren't real, trying to convince the crowd that the arrest isn't legal. The other customers in Walmart mostly just watch or walk away, staying out of the chaos. No one steps in to help her because they can see the officers are simply doing their jobs. Tiffany's screams for help become more desperate as she realizes she is truly alone in this fight. She keeps crying out for someone from the United States, but the only people responding are the Naperville officers who are walking her toward the exit in handcuffs. With Tiffany finally in handcuffs, Officer Jackson and Sergeant Hobbs don't just walk away. They have to make sure she is safe and secure. This part of the arrest is called the double lock. As Tiffany continues to complain and wiggle her wrists, Officer Jackson pulls out a small tool or uses a tiny pin on the side of the cuffs. He pushes a little tiny button on the edge of the metal. This is very important because it stops the handcuffs from getting any tighter if Tiffany keeps pulling against them. Without the double lock, the metal circles could squeeze her wrists too hard and hurt her. Even though Tiffany is being difficult, the officers follow their training to make sure she stays safe while she is in their care. Tiffany doesn't care about the safety check. It doesn't matter. "This is my stuff," she shouts as they prepare to lead her out. She keeps arguing that they aren't authorized to touch her, but the clicks of the double lock signify that the store confrontation is officially over. The officers have full control now, and the double lock is the final step before they start the long walk to the patrol car. As the officers lead Tiffany through the store and out toward the parking lot, her talk becomes even more confusing. She is no longer just upset about her groceries. She begins to talk about the entire world. "I'm actually one of the people who's here to help everybody from their countries," she claims, her voice shaking as she walks. Suddenly, she brings up global news that has nothing to do with her being banned from Walmart. They need to tell Putin that he needs to stop bombing places and then people from other countries will get their food, she says loudly. This Putin connection leaves the officers and bystanders very confused. Tiffany seems to think that her arrest in the bread aisle is somehow linked to international wars and food supplies across the globe. She tells the officers that she is a helper and a hero, and that by arresting her, they are taking the help away from the world. The ramblings don't stop there. She starts talking about non-pigmented eyes, and how the police departments were defunded because officers supposedly can't see or hear well. Even as she is being placed into the back of the patrol car, she continues to shout about her birth certificate and her social security card, trying to prove she is a good citizen while ignoring the fact that she is in handcuffs. To Tiffany, the whole world is part of her story, but to the officers, she is just a woman who refused to follow the rules of a simple trespass order. The sirens are quiet as the patrol car pulls away from the Walmart parking lot, heading toward the DuPage County Jail. Inside the car, Tiffany's long day of auditing the police has finally come to an end. The officers finish their paperwork, noting down everything that happened in the bread aisle. Even though Tiffany claimed the systems were down, the legal system is working just fine. The final report shows exactly what Tiffany is facing. She is charged with criminal trespassing because she refused to leave the store when she was told to. She is also charged with resisting arrest because she struggled and refused to put down her groceries when the officers tried to put on the handcuffs. These are serious charges that come from her choice to be entitled instead of just walking away with a ticket. Back at the store, the final charges are a reminder that the rules apply to everyone, even if they have a Facebook live stream running. Tiffany thought she could talk her way out of trouble by asking for birth certificates and talking about global politics, but in the end, the law was simple. As the narrator finishes the video, He reminds the audience that the officers gave her plenty of chances to leave peacefully. Tiffany's story ends not with likes and shares, but with a quiet cell and a court date, proving that being a sovereign shopper doesn't work in the real world.